Hey, welcome back to the channel, where today we're going to be exploring the latest in real estate apps, which you all know what that is, Landa. We're going to be revisiting the Landa app, which is a platform we last reviewed in June or July of 2023. We'll see what's changed, what's new, what's been improved, and how it stands in today's real estate investment landscape. Before we begin though, don't forget to like, subscribe, drop a comment. Let me know if you're using Landa. And as always, make sure to stay till the end. I've got a lot of good tips and tricks for you. All right, so first we're going to go through an overview of Landa. For those that don't know, Landa is a digital real estate platform that allows you to invest in real estate for fractional shares without actually owning, without actually doing any of the real work, for as little as $5. This is the opening page of the Landa app, and one of the first things you'll notice is, from an improvement standpoint, they've actually expanded into places like Charlotte. You'll see here we've got an offering here. They've got a couple things still up in New York. They've really expanded in Atlanta, and the biggest one I think I've seen from a change perspective is from a new investment opportunity standpoint is we've got Orlando, we've got Tampa, and now we have Alabama. If you were interested in one of these other markets, you actually can immediately click in and see exactly what each offering entails from a price perspective, where it's at, and click into it. You actually now see pictures, you see a little bit better description. I think the pictures are much clearer, so you're able to see exactly what you're buying. You're able to see cash balance on hand. I'm going to come back to that in just a minute. One of the biggest things I like really quick is they tell you new markets up here right at the top. So you don't have to wonder which cities they're in anymore. You don't have to wonder where they're at. You don't have to wonder what you're actually can invest in. As you move down here, you can click in, and maybe you're really interested in safe neighborhoods. That's one great thing I really like so far. And the biggest update in 2024 is you can just now click and see exactly what you need. So if you're interested in safe neighborhoods, you're interested in A+ schools, there could be different reasons why you're interested in one over the other. Certain people prefer safe neighborhoods over A+ schools. Obviously, we'd all like to have both, but maybe schools are where you think you'll have a better investment opportunity. There's no right or wrong way to invest here. It's just what's available now and what's been brought out since 2023. Okay, now one of the bigger things they brought out in early 2024 was the ability to invest in rental property mortgages. Now, this is not investing into an individual unit or individual house. This is investing in the mortgage that backs a lot of these rentals. So in Lend here, as it says, you actually can buy shares and it'll actually pay you a dividend, a percentage each month. It actually tells you here, Lend is an exciting opportunity to invest in the mortgages of residential properties across the US. You're backing real estate properties and earning monthly dividends representative of the current interest rate. So let's unpack that just a little bit. You've got backing of real estate, backing of residential, you've got interest rates that are moving, and then you've got the ability to accumulate wealth based on some dividends that they're paying out at the end of every month. Now, is this something for you? Maybe not. This is somewhat of a new offering, so there's not a huge track record there. Currently, it's only available in Atlanta. I don't see it available anywhere else. And if you go down here, you can actually see what you're investing in. You'll actually be investing in a fund, Landa Fundrising LLC, and it's raised to provide first mortgage loans to rental properties, which is great. A lot of people need loans when they're going in to buy first mortgage. They collect monthly interest from their mortgage portfolio, and the proceeds from these interest payments are then distributed as monthly income. So that's good. The assets are not liquid, at least not within the first 12 months. So I would caution you, if you're interested in something like Lend, which again is a new offering, understand that these assets are not liquid. They want you to hold them for at least 12 months. And as I went over before in one of my previous Landa videos, sometimes getting rid of these shares can be difficult, as each property has to sell out 100% of a unit before you can actually start unloading your shares. I'll go into my portfolio in just a minute and show you what that looks like, but I'd like to unload some of my shares in a property I have in New York, and unfortunately, because it's not 100% utilized, I can't do that yet. You're taxed at a 1099 distribution as a REIT. Currently, dividend reinvesting is not available, which is something I would like to do. That's one thing that's kept me away from this. Interest rates change, and that will affect what your payout, the amount you're being paid based on the interest rate. The funds will be primarily used to provide first mortgages. So I don't think it's bad. If you see right here, the current interest rate's 8.60. If you're getting, say, 5.5%, or 6% in a money market fund that's liquid, that extra 2 to 2.5% may not be worth it. But as you can see, you can actually go in here and look at all the shares that have been purchased over the last year. And then you can also go down here and see these are the properties that they're actually backing. So if you were to put, say, $10,000 in, you may be backing a mortgage for this property here in Douglasville. All right, I mentioned just a minute ago, one of the things that I wish they would update is the ability to sell out of a property. Here you can see real quick my current account value, the amount of dividends I've collected. So my account's almost at 1,700. I've got dividends that go all the way back into last year, and I just collected a dividend of 340. Now, one of the things I'll bring your attention to is I talked just a minute ago about not being able to unload shares. Now, this property here in Brooklyn, I've had for almost 2 years. You'll see here when I want to actually go and sell, let me see, where is it here? Yeah, if I want to sell, let's see. Actually, that brings me to another really good point. I actually can't sell right now because the property hasn't been fully utilized, and you're still able to buy shares here. So there's 132 Cornelia Street. There's still shares to be bought, which means I can't unload mine. So again, liquidity can become somewhat of a problem on Landa, which is something I'd like to see them fix going into 2020 or later in 24 into 25. This is one of the properties I own. I think they've done a really nice job, particularly right here, in updating their screen and showing the data and showing what's behind the scenes in a more crisp, concise, and clear way, where I can immediately see, a couple days ago we collected a rent payment. If you go back here to insurance, you can see things, you can see property expenses, you can see more interest payments, management fees, whatever. You can see that it was cleaned in February. I like being able to see exactly where the money's going for each property I own and not have to dig through a form or anything like that. Now, again, I'm gonna move back here. The other one I own is over in Irwin, and I think this was a share that was gifted to me from a subscriber when they signed up. But in this case, they have added additional things like eviction. So somebody got evicted. It looks like somebody was unable to pay rent. The last time rent was actually paid was back in January. So it's been almost 2 months, and you're still paying insurance on the property. You're still paying interest, and you still have a management fee. So in this case, when someone was evicted, it looks like somebody was evicted out of the unit. It doesn't look like any of it's being occupied now. So that may be something to think about as people get evicted. That means you've got months with lost rent, and again, that could be a little bit of a problem. All right, on the activity screen, I love that when you go back to the activity screen now, they've redone some of this, so you're able to see a little bit better on what you've got in your account, where things are going, what a withdrawal looks like, what a dividend is, where it comes from. You can immediately click in here and see I got a dividend from one of my properties. I got another dividend here. I like that. And then I would say probably one of the bigger things that I really like about what Landa's done is they've actually started a chat bot here where you can have real-time conversations versus having to send in emails like we had to do before in previous years, where you're sending in an email, you're waiting to get a response. It just becomes it can become very, very tiresome. You still have a lot of your info here. You have bank transfers and stuff like that. All right, let's go back to the homepage. So if we look at some of the newer markets, Charlotte's definitely a market I've always been interested in. I'm gonna zoom in here. I like the fact that they've redone the whole homepage. So the entire homepage looks different, and you can actually come over here and they now have filters. So if you're interested in filtering out and say you only wanna look in Charlotte and Tampa, and you just wanna look at something that's leased because that's typically better than something that is on an eviction, and you wanna see something that's actually trading. I begged for this back in 2022 and 2023, and actually it's telling me there's no properties there. I'm gonna change that out to say trading. I'm gonna show 6 properties in those 2 cities, and that's it. So this made it a lot easier than me having to dig through 100 different properties in Atlanta, 10 different properties in Charlotte, or whatever that may be. It looks like a lot of these are in Charlotte, but let's say, for instance, let's go to this one, 55% sold. So I can actually buy shares in this one. We can go down here and see what the cash balance is. We can see what rent is every month. We can actually see the offering price for this. I think they've done, again, a very good job of updating what this looks like, making it much, much easier to consume. I could see all the loans. There's a bridge loan on it at a 12% interest rate. We didn't have that even a year ago, where you may not be interested in doing something with such a high interest rate. If the borrowers are not able to pay back that bridge loan, and that interest rate could be very high, thus eating into your margins. May or may not be important. And then we've got all the docs down here. I like this, being able to just pull up the loan agreement. So for instance, if I want to look at what the loan agreement looks like here, I can get right into it. I don't have to keep digging, such as even the broker dealer or the management services agreement. I think it's great. I think they've done a great job with this. I can move this in and out here, collapse this. If I go back to the home page, now they're actually putting this up here. You get a 10% gift when you purchase more than $1,000 in an IPO property. Again, now they actually do have IPOs. So if I go over here, I can actually just search for IPOs that are just being launched, and there's 200 properties. So they're onboarding a lot more properties than they were last year. I think they've done a really big revamp. I think they did bring in a lot of seed money from either venture capital money or private equity to make the site much faster, much easier when it comes to purchases. So I really like that as well. So what I'd like to see Landa do going into 24 and 25 is I like to see them offer more properties, and I know that's easier said than done, but I understand the Southeast and the Sun Belts where everything, most of their property, their investments are, but I'd like to see some offerings up north, maybe Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee. That'd be nice. Number two, I'd like to see a little bit better mobile experience in terms of the snappiness and the performance of the app. And then number three, I'd love to be able to have the opportunity like Zillow does, me able to draw a circle around the areas that I'm interested in. For instance, if I go down to Atlanta, Atlanta has a ton of properties, and I understand why, but let's say I just want to draw an area, around here. I can't really tell where that is. I'd love for them to be able to do that. I believe Zillow and Redfin do that, where you can look at a certain city and you can just simply draw a map around where you'd like to go. So food for thought. If I look over here, there's been some interesting updates on Landa. This article here, I'll make sure I link below down in the description, but the 2024 review, is this app worth it? It actually walks through and tells you, what it's for. I think that this person did a really good job. The features, benefits, the lending service, the details, the liquidity, the lending service, the price. They go over here, the cons, limited liquidity. I've went over that. The management costs can be high. The property appreciation data I think needs to be added as well. They're in individual U.S. states. Each one could be a little more vulnerable. I would say New York's more vulnerable to pricing discrepancies than what Atlanta is. And business hour trading, yeah, that's definitely another one. And investing reviews. I would like to see reviews from other owners of the properties, like myself, on each individual unit and say what we like, don't like about the property. I think one of the bigger things that they compete with is, like we talked about before, Landa versus Fundrise versus Arrived versus Diversify Fund versus here. There's some other ones that I've done videos on, but Landa is really competing more with, I would say, Arrived versus Fundrise. I will say the fees, like I've talked about, the fees from Fundrise can be very high. I've never used Arrived Homes. If you'd like to see me do a video on it, comment down below, let me know. I'm always interested in video ideas from all of you that are taking this journey with me. But I'll make sure and link this down below. All right, so that being said, are you using Landa? Have you used it before? Are you thinking about using it? What do you like? And if you have invested, please comment down below. Let me know how your experience has been. And don't forget, as always, to design your financial freedom. Take care. Bye-bye.